Easy. Okay. Alan Key, good to see you. Uh, we got a lot of interviews today, so I'm gonna crack on, and I'm gonna lob one at you right now. Tell everyone around the room here why you, Alan Key, want to be the chief of police.
I, Alan Key, badge number 205, would like to be the chief of police, if given the opportunity, because I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. I am sick and tired of people prioritizing inaction and feelings over progress towards the common goal that we all share. Whether it be us here in this room or, you know, those of us that have badges. I genuinely don't know how anybody lasts doing this. I've been an officer for 4 months now. This is actually 22 there. It's my 5th month, coming on 6th. I want to make a difference. I want to see a difference made. I see my fellow officers and deputies dropping like flies. And it's not because they're not built for it. And it's not because that there's nothing here for them in the great state of San Andreas. In my opinion, it's because those of us that are here working aren't necessarily as valued as those of us with the rank and status and the history. I think rank and status and history mean a lot, especially in this city. I think that it's proof of your consistency and your abilities and, you know, your ability to let people listen to you, right? But there are so many phenomenal diamonds in the rough, some of which I think, you know, like, you know, I don't want to presume, but I think yourself, Mr. Reza, right, Mr. Mayor, I'm sure you can think of many people that are someone that needed an opportunity, that may be in a system where those opportunities were gated behind friends and family and, you know, gang members and politicians, or whatever it may be. Those people don't get a chance to shine. I think the state is stagnant in every single avenue, and I think the PD is a trendsetter of the state. And just like everything else, it is stagnant. There's captains, sergeants, lieutenants, seniors, cert leads, shift heads. Half of them don't do anything. Half of them have done phenomenal things in the past. Half of them will probably do phenomenal things in the future. But today, last week, last month, 2 months ago, there are countless people that are here working that deserve to be given the opportunities to make something great. So my sole focus is enabling people to shine, and sometimes to enable some people to succeed, right? For the greater good and the growth of everyone, some people's feelings need to get hurt. I am not the best police officer that ever lived. I most certainly will not be the best chief of police that ever lived. I am not an administrator. I am not a paperwork man. I do not like spreadsheets. I like talking. I like meetings. I value people's feelings and I want to make them feel good and enabled. But there are plenty of people more capable across the board than I. But what I think I do bring is a willingness to make change and an unwillingness to bend to and conform to what already exists.
Can I ask a follow-up, Key, if you don't mind?
Go ahead.
One of the big reasons for the dismissal of Turner was that a lot of the feedback I was receiving had to do with complacency, things like gatekeeping and glass ceilings, right? At the same time, though, I made the decision, and the mayor's office faced a lot of scrutiny for firing the chief effectively. So why do you think there is this culture where it's okay to talk out of both sides of your mouth? Not you in particular, but people saying that they want change, but they want things to stay the same. And I guess, how do you overcome that culture?
Well, quite frankly, you can only overcome it by putting the work in. And even then, it's not guaranteed. If you want to make drastic changes, you need to be there, hand-holding the process, digging the trench yourself every step of the way. Don't think a lot of people have the mindset and the willingness to try. A lot of the people that could have already tried and tried and tried again, and maybe succeeded in the past, right? There's only so much a single person has to give. But there are plenty of people that, if enabled and mentored, specifically mentored, if someone like me would become chief, the one thing, my first focus would be surrounding myself with people that can enable me to do the job efficiently, first and foremost, right? I think a lot of the department, from my perspective, is scared and hesitant to take somebody on and mentor them. To take somebody on and guide them through the process so that they can reach those higher heights. And I think it's a mix of burnout, laziness, and just an unwillingness to step out of line and have to be accountable for your actions. You know, officers and deputies like that, we're accountable every day, right? We go out there and every single day we are accountable, or we're meant to be. But bringing that accountability into your day-to-day behind the scenes is something that's very scary. And quite frankly, I don't imagine, I wouldn't even say that I enjoy it. It's not something that I look ahead fondly to. But every day when I'm on duty, when I'm out on the streets with the people that I care about in my shift, I want them to do well and feel enabled. And the only way that I see being able to do that is by people like myself that have the passion today, having the opportunity to try.
You've led into my next question, Key. My next question was going to be, what would be your first 3 priorities? And I think you've made your first one very, very clear, right? You want to surround yourself with people who will set you up for success so the rest of the department can be successful. What would be your next 2 priorities?
So the biggest problem that I see we have, right, day to day, it's a mindset and culture thing, you know, officer retention, right? Like I said, there's many people that may have motivation, may have good ideas, may have the energy, but they're stifled by not even things like rank or structure, maybe things like certificates, right? Officers need to feel enabled to do their job. Undeniably, without a shadow of a doubt, every officer on the street should have all the tools at their disposal to do the job correctly. I know some criminals might find that pretty distasteful, but we should be capable to do our job. Unfortunately, at the moment, some officers either see certificates as something that they need to do the job, which they aren't, and then some things are actually gated behind the certs that enable officers to, how would I say, you know, do the job better. The current certs that I would say are a standout and need to be completely overhauled are the leadership ones, and that would be Pursuit and TRT. I'm sure everybody here is familiar with the type of cars that are used often, right? There are phenomenally, insanely powerful cars out on the streets, right? People are driving 0 to 100 fraction of a second. I don't think that it should be a stretch for people to work towards feeling able to keep up with violent felons. Fine, right? Should people be allowed to get into a Buffalo so that they can respond adequately to what we're dealing with? 100%. It's a real thing. It's necessary. Should every person that gets behind the wheel of that Buffalo be a fully certed pursuit officer whose responsibility is mentoring the next generation of drivers and leaders? No. I think there's this discourse and this really bizarre where I think we have it structured where, or, you know, you get the cert and it's a key to everything. The way what I would want to restructure it is that these leadership certs are mentor roles. If you're given a full certification, you are a mentor to train the next generation. But anything that might come along with that, whether it be responsibilities or tools, should be something that officers can work to achieve. So many people come on duty, right? I'm an FTO. So many people say, man, I want to drive a fast car. I want to have the nice TRT vest and use the heavy rifle, right? And they turn that into their goal. And when I have to tell them to their face that unfortunately at this time you're not good enough for full pursuit, it's damning. It's crushing, right? I'm not sure if it's possible to restructure the way people see it, but in my eyes, what I'm wearing on my chest right now is nothing more than the stripe on my shoulder. It dictates that I've earned this and that I should be a mentor to teach people. Not everybody that wears this vest is a mentor. Most people that wear this vest got it because it looks cool. And that's it. And that mindset of working until you get it and not doing anything after is the exact same as a lot of people with their ranks too. I think the certs and the ranks go hand in hand. Every person of every rank should be someone that's a mentor to everyone below them. So certs would be my first focus, to try and
Mm.
you know, with discussion with the shift leads and the heads and all of that, enable people to feel like they can get out there and do the job, but not turn it into a cosmetic stepping stone, you know, a check off a list, because most people see it like that. They see it as something to work towards and get and not do anything with, whereas it should be something that you are given when you're ready, because we trust that you can help others achieve it too.
One more priority, if you don't mind, Key.
Yeah, one more priority. This one's a sore spot in my heart. Our job as officers, right? It's to prevent crime. It's to prioritize life. It's to get out there and meet the community and be a face that is more than a badge. That's our job, right? It's a nice little trifecta of keeping the streets clean, keeping the people safe, and trying through our actions to keep them happy. In saying that, a lot of what we do to keep people safe, I think, is a gross misuse of the badge and responsibility that we've been given. So I'm waffling here, but I'm gonna hone in. There is a lot of styles of policing that I do not agree with. I'm not sure if anybody here is familiar. I'm sure some of you have seen stuff on the docket. But do you know how remarkably easy it would be for me with the energy to search and seize nearly any property of any established criminal organization in the city? Does anybody know how easy that would be, should I find the motivation? I could quite literally...
Believe me, I know.
I'm sure you do, Mr. Masters. I could quite literally open up my incident reports, search by a name, and search by a charge, string together all of the charges that match that within statute, so possession of firearms, write up a fancy little report and say, well, this person is a known gangster, and this person has been possessed 10 firearms, 20 firearms, and this person owns properties. It's only natural to assume that they store firearms and other illegal things in those properties. I think it's our due diligence that we make sure that we go in there and we raid every single one of those properties. We'll add in another thing too. It would also be preferable, since they're such a dangerous gangster, that we do it, you know, without warning them, without any heads up, preferably when they're not around to do anything about it. I think that is pathetic. I think that that style of, let's say, warrant, that style of raid, has its place. There are times when our officer safety, you know, our discretion needs to be kept to a minimum. You know, no one needs to know, and we go in and do things, right? But that is not how those type of raids are conducted. That is not how that type of policing is done. That type of policing is done when people feel like it. Not because there's a terrorist on the loose that's been blowing up buildings. When someone upsets them, or when they're bored, or when they want... That is not an investigation. I don't want us to do stuff like that. I don't think that it's proper. I think that is a gross misunderstanding of just because we can doesn't mean we should. I think that police officers, more than anyone in this city, have to realize that we can do a lot of things. We can do a lot of things. A lot more than people realize, and get away with it. And I genuinely cannot fathom how it's gone on this long. I think that the only reason why that style of policing exists is because it's only done, like I said, when people are bored or they feel like it. Realistically, I could sit down today and write up 10 of these warrants, and most of them would get accepted, and the ones that don't, the judge would get back to me and tell me what to change, and I could get them accepted the next day. That's... I'm not about that. I don't think we should be about that. It's unacceptable. It's... If you want to do something like that, sit down and do an investigation. Don't tear people down for the fun of it, regardless of how heinous their crimes are. Save those type of situations for the worst of the worst in times of dire need. Not a casual Friday where you're getting a little slizzed and writing up some warrants.
Okay. You've actually gone ahead and answered a couple of my questions that were coming, so I'm going to open it up to the floor here before I get back to my script. So, any questions from the floor?
Me?
Yeah, I have one.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, yeah.
So you mentioned that you weren't big on paperwork and spreadsheets and the like, and I can understand that because I know from like the DOJ end and from other jobs I've done in the city over time, like what all goes into that and why a lot of people aren't like really into that. With that in mind, is that one of your main criteria for who you would choose for your assistant chief of police, or if not, what would your main criteria be for that position?
Main criteria I would pick for assistant chief of police is coverage. One thing that I will say, regardless of it being to my negative, coverage is the most important thing, right? Shift 2 is always going to be my perspective and focus, right? It's where I'm from, but Shift 2 is missing coverage in our current chain of command, and I would not, under any circumstances, want that to be applied to the entirety of the department. So coverage first. If I needed people to assist me with the more administrative side, I would focus on the people in my shift where I'm going to be spending majority of my time, and leave the assistant chief position to someone that's going to benefit the entire department, as opposed to me personally.
That makes sense.
Okay,
I'd
I have a
like to-
question.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You-
Finley, then Doc. Finley, then Doc.
okay. So like for me, Finley, by the way, for me, like the ideal chief would be someone that's like a bridge or like a representative, I guess, from like the people to like the department. Whether that be someone that's like welcoming or someone that's like clear and concise. But you know, I've listened to you speak for a while, so I'm just wondering, like, how would you consider your approach or like demeanor, and like how do you think people perceive you?
Stern.
Mm.
Stern.
Why do you say that?
Listen, I don't like bullying people. I do not like hurting people's feelings. I genuinely, truly try to uplift and benefit everybody around me. But there's only so much that you have to give. Our priority as officers is, you know, to one another first and foremost, to the state, to the people. There's not much more. If somebody isn't going to be able to have empathy for what we're doing, I don't really have the time to talk to a brick wall. My priority is what we do every day, and my priority is like out there on the streets. You know, I think the chief is a bridge between the DOJ, the people, and the department. But I think that what the department needs is a chief that is a bridge between every single rank outwards. I don't think the PD needs more people telling it what to do from the outside. It needs people that are confident and capable talking within itself. So if someone's going to try and detract from what we're doing, if I were chief, and hinder us, stern is going to be my demeanor.
Doc, please.
So you were talking about surrounding yourself with people that will support your vision. Do you have anyone in mind that you feel currently would stand up to
that? Quite frankly, I'm not sure how it would go, but Ruby York, I would say, is probably my number one mentor. Within Shift 2, listen, I'm gonna say it. There are people that I would very much like to pull from, probably to the distaste of maybe some people in this room and definitely people in the department. But I'm not sure what rank they would end up with. People like potentially, you know, ex-assistant Chief Peters, current sergeant. There are people in the BCSO that I would find very palatable to a higher command in the LSPD. There are people in Shift 2, Shift 1. I would say first and foremost, though, Ruby York is the person that I would probably try my best to enable to the utmost, because I know that she would do the same for me. And from there, I think it would be... I would have to work from Shift 2 outwards, because as much as I have my own opinions on what's stagnant and what could be replaced, I am not the God Emperor of all. I'm not going to make changes from my perspective on a shift that I'm not present in without thoroughly talking it through. Because that type of problem is very prevalent in the PD. I'm sure Mr. Masters knows. Oftentimes, someone that either you've never met or barely spoken to can dictate the politics for a shift that they will never be in. And coverage is the goal, and I want to make sure that any change I make is the best for that shift first and the department second.
Does that answer your question, Doc?
It does, but it does open another interesting thing. Shift 3 is seen as being an island of its own, and that they do what they want. Do you plan on changing that and making the Shift 3 LSPD follow your vision, or are you going to leave them to do their own thing?
Shift 3 LSPD has some phenomenal people in it, just like the BCSO, right? There are phenomenal people there, but I would want Shift 3 to be held to my standard. Personally, at this time, I don't think that would require me to make drastic changes. I think the people that are there are working and holding it down. Sergeant Davenport, for example, he's there. Maple, he is there. All of Shift 3, as much as it is its own island, and I do think it has flaws, the people that are there are not lazy. They are there every day, every shift, without exception. And more than anything, consistency is the thing that I value most. There are things, though, that I would like to change. I do think that they have potentially a problem with producing people of a high enough caliber to be doing the job to the degree I'd like. But beyond restructuring, maybe the way that they reprimand and train people, I don't have like huge, devastating plans for Shift 3. The people that are there deserve respect. 100%.
Okay, thank you for that.
Other questions from the floor,
That's a good
please.
answer.
Yeah.
Go ahead. please.
My name's Hugh. I'm a newer lawyer. Most of my cases in the city have been rights violations, and it stems from PD. And whether it's been a civilian
Conflicted.
or a criminal,
Conflicted.
the majority of
Conflicted.
them see it as the police department that we currently have just will not take any accountability. So no matter what is said, they're like, just try to hit them where it hurts. If we have them dead to rights, let's sue them for X amount of dollars, $50 million, because they feel that the police, as of now, just take no accountability. In your opinion, what would you do to help change it or make that difference where the civilians and criminals that have had their rights violated truly, not the ones that just say it every day in the cells that you probably see, but the ones that have had it, how would you show that you're going to take accountability and put that on the rest of your officers underneath you?
It's a good question. I don't see, someone can tell me I'm an idiot, right? I don't see why it isn't acceptable for the chief of police to go up on a stand in front of a microphone and say loud and clear, officers acted in a way unbecoming of them. We're sorry. I don't know why it's so hard for us to take accountability. Every time that I've seen something dealt with, it's dealt with the officers, keeping our jobs, right? Because we do ultimately go out there, risk our lives every day, and mistakes happen, right? Your first mistake, if it's an honest one, as much as the ramifications for someone else can be dire, I don't necessarily mean instant dismissal. Nothing like that I think should be necessary. It should be an option, but not necessary. I don't think a lot of people realize just how insane the day-to-day we have is as officers. And regardless of training, mistakes do happen. But what I don't think should be happening is obfuscating those mistakes. Not be willing to take accountability. There are people in the department, right, that are overly criticizing of every mistake, nitpickers. They'll file a report over damn near anything. Then there are other people, like I try to be, myself, where we prioritize speaking first, right? And if it has to be escalated, it will be. If something needs to be escalated, I don't see why we can't just take accountability for it. We have the budget, and if it got to the point where we had to settle so many cases that the department went into the negative, I feel like that's across the bridge when you come to it. That's such a huge problem that if taking accountability meant that we went broke, I feel like that would be deserved, quite frankly.
Key, I
So-
think you brought up an important point here, right? And that is mistakes happen, right? We're all human. We can agree on that. And your first mistake, maybe even your second or your third, shouldn't just result in instant dismissal. But accountability as well is more than just, let's say, an officer making mistake, taking accountability for actions. When an incident like that occurs, do you believe the chief or the sergeant or the captain of the officer who made a mistake, do you believe they bear any responsibility?
100%. When a scene goes, let's pick an example. If we do incorrect charges, right? Let's say some very long scene, officers are shot down, 9 people in the cells, it's an hour of processing, 16 hot guns, whatever. We get it through all the way to the end. Some charges are done improperly. Is it anything that's going to ruin us in court? No. But is it improper processing nonetheless? Yep. Whose fault is that? Well, it's the officer or deputy that pushed them through the charges, but it's the primary on scene, right? The primary isn't the most senior person. It's most of the time the person that was there first, regardless of rank. If a sergeant gets the charges wrong because it wasn't conveyed, and an officer is the person leading the scene, as much as the sergeant could have done their due diligence, it's the officer's fault. So if an officer that I trained and responsible to mentor as a sergeant or an FTO or a senior or whatever makes those mistakes, should I be fired in depth? No. But should I be there with them, let's say, suffering the consequences and dealing with the fallout? 100%. Does that mean that if an officer in my shift should be held accountable just like their sergeant, lieutenant, and captain? No. But I do 100% think that we are accountable for the people we train. Like, I literally train them, right? If an officer that I train does something wrong, that wounds me dearly. It feels like I did something wrong. And I feel like that mindset of us being mentors, I don't want to go as far to say parents, but when people that we are taking care of and training to be the next generation of us to reach higher heights, make mistakes, 100% we're accountable. And we should be there with them, like letting them know that, because that gives them confidence. I tell every officer, you can do no wrong as long as you ask questions first. That is what I tell every single cadet. I say, no matter what is happening, I don't care how dire the scene is, if at all possible and you're unsure, just ask someone. I have had officers call me in active shootouts to ask what to do because they were unsure and they didn't want to make the wrong choice. And if they did make that wrong choice there, I would be the first person, if able, to go and deal with the consequences of that decision.
Key, I have one more very short question, but we have about 5 minutes left here. Is there anything that you want to ask the panel before I wrap it up here?
I don't have anything to ask, but I have a request.
Please.
My humble request to whoever that you guys deign to be chief, I do truly hope it's someone that's willing to make change and be damned with the fallout, right? Whether that be from everybody in this room or the department itself, whoever. I don't think the city is at a point where we can have another complacency and stability. Stability's out the window. It's life's a gamble, and I really think that we are in a time where someone just needs to cast the dice. So I do hope that whoever you guys do choose is someone that you all believe is willing to make the hard calls. Not the hard calls to benefit themselves, but the hard calls to benefit all of us. That's all.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Okay, let me pitch my last question your way, and this one's lighthearted. You're gonna have to put your imagination cap on, right? I'd like you to pretend for a second that the island of San Andreas has been completely overrun, post-apocalyptic, by very, very slow-moving zombies that are stupid.
Oh, shit.
Alan Key, what is your weapon of choice and why?
Man, that is a good one. You ever, I would say, right, we're in the land of the free, home of the brave. I would say... Man, can I just be a kid again for you, Mr. Mayor? I would say an AK-47. I think, respectfully, riding out into the post-apocalyptic with an AK would be tough. I think that'd be tough.
It's it says a lot about you, right? It's a very reliable weapon. People say you could basically walk through a swamp with that thing completely underwater. You'll come out on the other side and it'll still fire. I guess my follow up though is, what do you do when it runs out of ammo?
You ever seen The Walking Dead? I just somehow every season procure more. Huh? Until I eventually die a horrific death, and the show goes to shit.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
That was a good answer.
Yeah. We'll call it there. Key, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your brutal honesty, quite frankly. One way or another, we'll be in touch, okay?
All right. Have a phenomenal day, all of you. I appreciate the time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you as
Have a great day. Do you know the way out?
I do. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Johnson, Peaches, Jeb.
Sergeant, how you doing?
Oh, hey. How'd it go?
Don't worry, Johnson. Interim
What a
sergeant.
coincidence.
I'll be taking the stripes off in a day. Don't worry about it.
Sorry, that ain't the day. Sorry.
That's
Are
all
you ready,
good.
Peach?
Oh, hey.
All right, you got this, Peach. Let them know you got this.
Oh, what a coincidence.
What a coincidence.
Oh.
Have a lovely day, guys.